The gravity chamber stayed at 1G for another 10 minutes while the council watched in stunned silence. Hana, Day, and Nari moved around normally, demonstrating simple tasks: walking, sitting, standing, picking things up and setting them down with careful control. Every movement was precise and measured, showing just how much force they were constantly managing. Finally, Vestika's voice echoed through the chamber. Reduce gravity to 0.4G and exit the chamber. The council requires time to discuss these findings. As the gravity decreased, Hana felt the now familiar sensation of becoming too light. Her body almost floated with each step. Outside the chamber, medical teams waited nervously, expecting to find the humans exhausted or injured. Instead, they found 3 people who looked perfectly fine, maybe even energized. No elevated heart rate, a medical officer reported, scanning Nari with confusion. No muscle strain. No stress indicators. They show less fatigue than they did yesterday after the physical tests. Because this is normal for us, Day explained patiently. Earth gravity is our baseline. Everything else is vacation. The humans were escorted back to their quarters while the council met an emergency session. Through the walls, they could hear the sound of dozens of species arguing, their translation devices creating a buzz of overlapping voices. Tay paced back and forth, his face thoughtful. You made your point. Perhaps too well. What do you mean? Hana asked. They are scared now, Tay said. Before they dismissed us. Now they fear us. Fear can lead to rejection just as easily as respect. Or it can lead to understanding, Day said, cleaning his glasses calmly. They needed to see what Earth really means, not data. Not theory. Reality. Nari sat by the window looking out at space. Do you think they will accept us now? I do not know, Hana admitted. But at least they are taking us seriously. 3 hours later, they were summoned back to the council chamber. The atmosphere was tense, electric with nervous energy. Every seat was filled. Additional species had joined remotely, their holographic representations floating in designated spaces. This was bigger than a simple membership decision now. Vestika's branches moved slowly, deliberately. The council has reviewed the demonstration. We have consulted with engineers, military advisors, and sociologists from 17 different species. What we have learned is untroubling. Hana's heart sank. Here it comes, she thought. The rejection, but also necessary, Vestika continued. We have been operating under false assumptions about humanity. We believed you were primitive because you were young. We believed you were inefficient because you were different. We were wrong. A ripple of surprise went through the chamber. Ziltrath stood up, his posture completely different from before. He looked smaller somehow, less confident. I must apologize to the human delegation. My analysis was based on comparing human physiology to galactic norms. But those norms assume low-gravity evolution. I failed to account for high-gravity adaptation. The humans are not over-engineered. They are precisely engineered for their environment. And that environment is, he paused, searching for words, extreme by our standards. Thricus rose next. The military implications are significant. Human ships built to withstand 1G internal gravity are structurally stronger than our vessels. Human soldiers operating in standard gravity environments have substantial physical advantages. Human weapons and tools designed for high-gravity use are more robust than galactic equivalents. Festor floated forward, his gas body swirling with subdued colors. I spoke dismissively of humans. I called you brutes and primitives. I was foolish. You are not brutes. You are survivors of a world that would kill most of us within hours. Your primitive strength is actually sophisticated adaptation. I ask forgiveness for my ignorance. Other species began standing, one after another, offering their own assessments. The picture they painted was clear. Humans were far more capable than anyone had realized. Not despite Earth's gravity, but because of it. A small crystalline being, speaking for the first time, projected its thoughts through translation. We must consider economic impact. Human workers can perform heavy labor without mechanical assistance. Human engineers can build in high-stress environments. Human explorers can colonize high-gravity worlds that we have deemed unsuitable. The practical applications are enormous. There are concerns as well, said a plant-like creature from the upper decks. Human military capability is unmatched. Not because of technology, but because of physiology. A human boarding party on any galactic vessel would be nearly unstoppable. We must address security considerations. Hana stood up. May I speak to that concern? Vestica's branches gestured permission. You are right to be concerned about military power, Hana said. But you are looking at it wrong. Yes, humans are strong. Yes, we could be dangerous if we wanted to be. But we do not want to be. We came here to join, not to conquer. We came here to offer our strength as partners, not use it as weapons. She walked to the center of the chamber where everyone could see her clearly. Think about what Earth taught us. We spent our entire history fighting against gravity just to stand up. Every day is a struggle against forces trying to pull us down. Do you know what that creates? Not aggression, endurance, patience, determination. We learn to work together because individually Earth is too hard. We learn to build strong because weak things break. We learn to be careful because carelessness leads to injury. Day stood beside her. Every human child who learns to walk falls down dozens of times. Hundreds of times. Gravity knocks them down and they get back up. Over and over. This is our fundamental lesson. When you fall, you rise. When things are heavy, you carry them. When the world pushes you down, you push back. Not with anger. With persistence, Nari joined them. You saw me fight Chektis yesterday. I won easily because of physical advantage, yes. But I also helped him up after. I thanked him for the match. On Earth, we learn that being strong means protecting others, not dominating them. Because when gravity hits, everyone falls the same. Rich or poor, strong or weak. Everyone struggles under Earth's weight. It makes us equal, understanding. Tay walked to the center and stood with his team. Humanity requests membership in the Galactic Council not as conquerors, but as contributors. We offer our strength for construction, our endurance for exploration, our resilience for colonization efforts. We offer our experience surviving a harsh world to help others survive harsh conditions. We offer partnership. The chamber fell silent. Aliens looked at each other, their various forms of communication passing between them. Hana could see the debate in their body language, their colors, their movements. Fear warred with opportunity. Caution fought with curiosity. Finally, Vestika spoke. The council will vote. Standard procedure. Unanimous approval required for full membership. Partial approval for provisional status. The voting began. Each species lit up a color, projected a symbol, or made a sound that indicated their vote. The translation systems rendered them all into simple terms. Approve, approve, approve. One by one, every species voted the same way. Unanimous, Vestika announced, and its trunk pulsed with what might have been satisfaction. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, effective immediately. Welcome! The chamber erupted in sounds. Not laughter this time. Something more respectful. Cheers, maybe. Or acknowledgement. Hana was not sure, but it sounded positive. Thrikis approached them, his movements careful and respectful now. Commander Lee, Ambassador Tay, I extend formal apology for my earlier conduct. I judged without understanding. I hope humanity will accept our friendship despite our poor first impression. We accept, Tay said, offering his hand. Thrikis studied it for a moment, then carefully touched it with one of his limbs. The first handshake between human and Valorum. Over the next hours, species after species approached the human delegation. They asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about what it was like to live in high gravity. The tone was completely different now. They were not mocking. They were genuinely curious, interested. Some even seemed excited about the possibilities. A military commander from a species Hana did not recognize approached Nari. We have several high-gravity worlds in our territory that we cannot colonize. The cost of building structures that can withstand 0.8 to 1.2 G is too high for us. Would humans be interested in colonization contracts? Possibly, Nari said. We would need to discuss terms. Of course. But the opportunity is there. What we see as hostile, you see as normal. This is valuable. An engineering consortium asked Day about human construction techniques. We have projects that require robust materials and heavy-duty building methods. Human expertise would be welcome. Scientists wanted tissue samples, DNA data, physiological studies, not to prove human inferiority anymore, but to understand human adaptation, to learn what evolution could accomplish under extreme pressure. Through it all, Hana felt a strange emotion. Pride, yes. Relief, definitely. But also something else. Responsibility. The galaxy was looking at humanity with new eyes, seeing potential where they once saw primitiveness. That was good. But it also meant humans would need to live up to those expectations. As the day wound down and the humans finally returned to their quarters, exhausted but satisfied, the council training arena was a massive dome filled with equipment Hana did not recognize. There were floating platforms, energy barriers, and strange machines that hummed with power. Observation decks lined the walls, and they were packed with aliens. It seemed like everyone on the station wanted to watch the humans embarrass themselves. Hana stood with her team near the entrance. Nari was stretching, her movements casual and relaxed. Dai was checking medical scanners, making sure they would have accurate data. Tay stood with his arms crossed, still angry about yesterday, but smart enough to know they were committed now. Thrikis descended from one of the observation decks, followed by Ziltrath and several other officials. "Humans," Thrikis said, his mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. "We have prepared 3 tests: endurance running, strength measurement, and reaction time assessment. All will be conducted at station standard gravity, 0.4 g. "That is fair," Hana said, though she knew it was anything but. The low gravity would make everything easier for everyone. "Which human will participate?" Ziltrath asked, his compound eyes examining each of them. Nari stepped forward. "I will." The aliens seemed surprised. Nari was the smallest of the group, barely 160 centimeters tall. In the low gravity, she looked even smaller, more delicate. Hana could practically see the aliens adjusting their bets. "Very well," Thrikis said. "First test, endurance run, 3 laps around the arena, distance of approximately 5 kilometers, standard test for security personnel candidates." A Valorum warrior stepped onto the track. It was younger than Thrikis, its exoskeleton a brighter shade of green. "I am Chektis. I will race against the human." Nari walked to the starting line. She was not wearing any special equipment, just her standard uniform. Chektis towered over her, easily twice her height. The Valorum's legs were designed for speed, long and powerful like a grasshopper's. "Begin," Thrikis announced. Chektis burst forward like a shot, his legs propelling him across the track in huge leaps. In the low gravity, he could jump 10 meters at a time. He looked fast, impressive, powerful. Nari started running. Within 30 seconds, Hana knew the aliens had made a terrible mistake. Nari was not struggling. She was not trying hard. She was jogging. In 0.4 g, her body weighed about 25 kilograms. Every step launched her forward effortlessly. Every breath was easy. She looked like she was out for a morning warm-up. By the first lap, she had caught up to Chektis. By the second lap, she had passed him. The Valorum was breathing hard, his legs moving frantically. Nari was smiling. The observation decks went quiet. By the third lap, Chektis had slowed to a walk, his exoskeleton heaving as he tried to catch his breath. Nari crossed the finish line and barely looked tired. She was not even sweating. "Time," Thrikis announced, his voice strange and hollow. "Human. 14 minutes 32 seconds, new station record, previous record 21 minutes 18 seconds. Whispers erupted in the observation decks. Dai was grinning. Tay's expression had not changed, but Hana could see satisfaction in his eyes. "Second test," Ziltrath said quickly, clearly uncomfortable. "Strength measurement. Lift the calibrated weight plates until failure." They moved to a machine that looked like a bench press, but more complicated. The weights were made of some dense material that glowed slightly. A Quillen official floated nearby, ready to record the results. "The current station record is 300 kilograms, Ziltrath explained. "Held by a Moloch, a species from a 0.6 g world. Most species manage between 100 and 200 kilograms. Nari lay down on the bench. The starting weight was 50 kilograms. She lifted it like it was nothing. They added more. 100, easy. 150, still easy. 200. Nari pushed it up smoothly, her breathing steady. Ziltrath's mandibles were clicking rapidly now, a sign of stress. "Add another 100, he ordered. 300 kilograms. Nari lifted it, not quickly, but not struggling either. "More," she said. They added weight until the machine reached its maximum, 400 kilograms. In 0.4 g, that weight was only about 160 kilograms of force. For Nari, who had spent her entire life in Earth gravity, it was like lifting a child. She pushed the weight up. Once, twice, 10 times, 20 times. She did not stop until Ziltrath told her to. New record, the Quillen official announced weakly. 400 kilograms, 20 repetitions. The observation decks were completely silent now. No one was laughing anymore. Final test, Thrickus said, and Hana could hear something new in his voice. Uncertainty, maybe even fear. Reaction speed. The system will project targets. You must touch them as they appear. Simple test. Nari stood in the center of a circle. Holographic targets began appearing around her. Red dots that lasted for only a fraction of a second. The test started slow, then got faster and faster. Nari's hands moved in a blur. She tagged every target. Left, right, above, behind. Her body twisted and turned with a speed that seemed impossible. In Earth gravity, these movements would have been difficult. Here, with her body weighing a fraction of normal, she moved like liquid, like wind. The system kept speeding up. The targets appeared faster and faster. Nari kept hitting them all. Other aliens had managed maybe 70 or 80% accuracy. Nari was at 100%. Finally, the machine reached its maximum speed and shut down. Test complete, the computer announced. Accuracy, 100%. Average reaction time, 0.14 seconds. New station record, previous record, 0.22 seconds. Nari walked back to her team, not even breathing hard. Hana wanted to cheer, but she kept her expression neutral. Ziltrath was staring at his datapad like it had betrayed him. "This is impossible," he muttered. "These results suggest that humans are operating at peak efficiency in low gravity. But that means..." "It means we are not inefficient," Day said calmly. "We are over-engineered for standard galactic conditions. Our bodies are built for high stress. Remove that stress and we do not just function normally, we excel." Thrickus turned to face Chektis, who was still recovering from the run. "You challenged her?" "I," Chektis started to say. "Combat test," Thrickus said suddenly. "Not on our schedule, but I want to see it. Chektis, you will fight the human. Standard arena rules. First to submission or incapacitation." Hana started to object, but Nari put a hand on her arm. "It is okay, Commander. I accept." They moved to a padded combat ring. Chektis looked nervous now, but he was still twice Nari's size. He had natural armor, sharp edges on his limbs, and a reach advantage. On paper, he should win easily. The fight began. Chektis struck first, a fast kick aimed at Nari's chest. She was not there anymore. She had moved sideways faster than he could track. Her fist hit his middle section, right where Hana knew the Valorum kept their primary nerve cluster. Chektis stumbled backward. He tried a grab, reaching with his long arms. Nari ducked under them, swept his legs, and when he fell, she was on top of him. Her arm locked around his neck in a chokehold. In 0.4 g, she could apply pressure without effort, every muscle in her body working at a fraction of its designed load. "Submit," she said quietly. "I submit," Chektis gasped. The fight had lasted 47 seconds. Nari stood up and helped Chektis to his feet. The young Valorum looked at her with something like awe in his compound eyes. "You are very strong," he said. "Thank you," Nari replied. "You fought well." The observation decks erupted in chaos. Aliens were shouting, arguing, their translation devices creating a storm of noise. Hana heard words like dangerous and military threat and recalculate. Fesustor floated down to their level, his gas-filled body swirling with agitated colors. "This proves nothing," he said, but his voice lacked confidence. "You are merely brutes. Good for labor, perhaps, but not for..." "Not for what?" Hana interrupted. "Not for your council? We just broke every record your station has. We did it without special equipment, without enhancement, without even trying hard." "She is right," Day added. "Nari was not at her limits. None of us are. This is point 4G. This is easy for us. Thrickus's mandibles clicked rapidly. He looked at Ziltrath, then at the observation decks, then back at the humans. Tomorrow, he said finally. We will discuss this tomorrow. Council is adjourned. As the aliens filed out, still arguing among themselves, Hana noticed something. They were not laughing anymore, they were not mocking. They were scared, and that, Hana thought, was a start. The main council chamber was even more impressive than Hana had imagined. It was a massive sphere with seating arranged in circular rings that floated at different heights. Each species had their own section designed for their comfort. The humans sat in a small platform near the bottom, their chairs bolted down because everything else seemed to drift slightly in the point 4G environment. Hundreds of aliens filled the chamber. Hana recognized some species from the database Earth had compiled over the years. There were the Quillians, those floating gas bag creatures that looked like living balloons, the Valorum, with their insect-like bodies and precise movements, dozens of others she had never seen before, small crystalline beings that sparkled like living diamonds, creatures that looked like walking plants, things that were just clouds of smart dust held together by magnetic fields. At the center of it all sat the Council Prime, an ancient being called Vestica. Nobody knew what species Vestica belonged to. It looked like a tree made of silver metal, with branches that moved like arms and a trunk that pulsed with light. We begin with presentations. Vestica's voice echoed through the chamber without needing translation. It spoke directly into the mind somehow. The Quillians will demonstrate their new atmospheric processors. One by one, species took turns showing off their achievements. The technology was incredible. Machines that could terraform entire planets in decades instead of centuries. Medical devices that could cure diseases by rewriting DNA in real time. Ships that could fold space so efficiently they barely used any energy at all. Finally, it was Earth's turn. Ambassador Tay stood up, and immediately Hana heard whispers ripple through the chamber. Some aliens leaned forward to get a better look. Others turned away, uninterested. Honored Council, Tay began, his voice strong and clear. Humanity comes before you today to present our achievements and our wish to join the galactic community. We are young, yes, but we are capable and eager to contribute. He activated a holographic display. Images of Earth's fusion drives appeared, rotating slowly. We have developed efficient fusion propulsion that can reach 0.95 light speed within 2 months of acceleration. A Quillan named Fesses Tor made a sound like air escaping from a balloon. The translation came through as bored sarcasm. Fusion drives. How quaint. Most species had those 1,000 years ago. Some aliens laughed. Tay's jaw tightened, but he continued. We have also made advances in medical technology, particularly in trauma treatment and rapid healing. Of course you have, Fessator interrupted again. Living on a high-gravity world means you probably hurt yourselves constantly. 1.0G. The creature shuddered, its gas-filled body rippling. Like living at the bottom of an ocean. More laughter. Hana's hands formed fists, but Day placed a gentle hand on her arm, warning her to stay calm. Tay showed images of Earth's terraforming proposals. Then their communication networks, then their agricultural advances. Each time someone interrupted with a dismissive comment. The mood in the chamber was clear. The council saw humans as primitive newcomers who had nothing valuable to offer. Then a Valorum scientist named Ziltrath stood up. He was smaller than Thrickus, but his voice was sharp and cutting. If I may address the council, he said, activating his own display. I have studied the human physiology data they provided. The results are concerning. Images of human bodies appeared in the hologram showing bones, muscles, and organs. Red marks highlighted various points. Humans evolved under 1.0 G of constant gravitational stress, Ziltrath continued. As a result, they have developed extremely dense bone structure, overdeveloped musculature, and a cardiovascular system that works much too hard. Their hearts are massive compared to their body size. Their blood pressure is dangerously high by galactic medical standards. He zoomed in on a human skeleton. Look at these bones. The density is 3 times the galactic average. This is not strength, honored council. This is over-engineering, inefficient design. Their bodies waste enormous amounts of energy just supporting themselves against their own planet's gravity. Hana wanted to scream, but she forced herself to stay silent. Furthermore, Ziltrath said, his mandibles clicking excitedly, Their cognitive development has likely been stunted by the constant stress of high gravity. The brain must divert resources to simply keeping the body functional. I suggest that humans would require significant biological modification before they could truly participate in galactic society. Perhaps genetic therapy to reduce bone density and muscle mass, cybernetic heart replacements to handle the inefficiency of their natural design. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. Hana saw several aliens nodding their various heads, stalks, and sensor clusters. Day stood up suddenly. "Council, may I respond?" Festika's branches moved in what might have been a nod. "The human scientist may speak." Day's voice was calm and professional. "Ziltrath is correct that humans are built differently, but what he calls inefficiency we call adaptability. Yes, our bones are dense. This means they do not break easily. Yes, our muscles are strong. This means we can perform heavy labor without assistance. Yes, our hearts work hard. This means we have excellent endurance. We are not over-engineered. We are engineered for Earth, and that engineering makes us capable of things others cannot do." Festor made another balloon sound, dismissive and rude. "Like what? Carrying heavy boxes? The galaxy has machines for that, human. We have potential beyond," Day started to say, but Ziltrath cut him off. "Potential is not achievement. You have had faster-than-light travel for only 40 years. Some species in this chamber have been exploring space for 10,000 years. You are children playing with toys you barely understand." Tay stood again, his face red with controlled anger. "We may be new to space, but we learn quickly. We adapt. We overcome obstacles." "Because your world is full of obstacles," Thrickus said from his seat. "Everything on Earth is a struggle. You fight gravity every moment. You fight each other constantly. Your history is full of war and conflict. This is not the temperament the Council seeks in its members." The chamber erupted in discussion. Aliens talked over each other, their various translation devices creating a chaos of noise. Through it all, Hana heard the same words repeated again and again: primitive, aggressive, unsuitable, heavy worlders. Nari leaned close to Hana and whispered, "Commander, I am watching something interesting. See those Valorum in the upper section? They are taking bets on something. I think they are betting on how long we last here." Hana looked up and saw it was true. Several aliens were exchanging small devices, nodding to each other, clearly making some kind of wager. They did not even try to hide it. Something snapped inside Hana. She stood up before Tay could stop her. "Council," she said loudly, "I request a practical demonstration." The chamber went quiet. Vestika's branches turned toward her. "Explain, human commander. You say we are weak, inefficient, unsuitable. You mock our gravity and our bodies, fine. Let us prove what humans can actually do. Give us tests, physical challenges, anything you want. Let us show you what Earth-built means." The silence stretched out. Then Festor made a sound that was definitely laughter. "Oh, this will be entertaining. Yes, Council, let us test the heavy worlders. Let us see if their dense bones and big hearts mean anything at all." Ziltrath stood up again. "I support this demonstration. It will provide valuable data on human limitations." More aliens voiced agreement. They sounded excited, but not in a good way. They sounded like they were looking forward to watching humans fail. Vestika's trunk pulsed with light. "Very well. Tomorrow the humans will undergo physical testing in the station gymnasium. All council members are invited to observe. This session is ended." As the aliens filed out of the chamber, still laughing and talking, Tay grabbed Hana's arm. "What have you done?" he hissed. "You just gave them exactly what they wanted." "A show? Maybe," Hana said, watching Nari crack her knuckles with a small smile. "But maybe it is time we gave them a show they will never forget." The shuttle broke through the final layer of space dust, and there it was. The Galactic Council station hung in orbit around Valorum Prime like a massive silver flower. Its petals were actually docking bays, each one larger than Earth's biggest cities. Hana Lee pressed her face closer to the viewport, trying to take it all in. After 34 years of life and 10 years in the Earth Defense Force, she thought nothing could impress her anymore. She was wrong. "Commander Lee, we're receiving docking clearance," said the pilot through the intercom. Hana straightened her uniform and turned to look at her team. Dr. Day Park sat in the corner, reading through alien biological data on his tablet. At 41, he was the oldest member of their group and the calmest. His gray hair was neatly combed and his expression never seemed to change. Beside him, Nari Kang checked her equipment for the third time. The young security officer was 29 but looked ready for war. Her jaw was tight, her eyes sharp. In the front seat, Ambassador Taecho stared out the window with his hands folded. At 56, he had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. "Remember," Tae said without turning around, "we are here to observe and learn. Earth has waited decades for this invitation. Do not waste it." "Yes, sir," they all replied. The shuttle glided into the docking bay smoothly. The moment the door opened, Hana felt it. The gravity was different, much lighter. She took a step and almost floated. Her stomach lurched as her body tried to adjust. On Earth, she weighed 68 kilograms. Here, she felt like she weighed maybe 27. Everything felt strange and bouncy. "0.4 G, Day muttered, checking his scanner. "This is their standard." "Feels weird," Nari said, taking careful steps like she was walking on the moon. A tall, thin creature waited for them at the end of the ramp. It looked like a praying mantis but stood 3 meters high. Its exoskeleton was deep green and its compound eyes reflected rainbow colors. 2 smaller creatures floated behind it. They looked like jellyfish filled with glowing gas, purple and blue swirls moving inside their transparent bodies. "Humans," the mantis creature said through a translation device hanging around its neck. "I am Thricus, ambassador of the Valorum Collective. Welcome to the council station." The words were polite, but the tone was not. It sounded bored, maybe even annoyed. Tay bowed slightly. "Thank you, Ambassador Thricus. We are honored to be here." "Yes, well." Thricus's mandibles clicked together. "Follow me. Your quarters are in Section 9. It is far from the central chambers, but we thought it best to place you where the gravity can be, adjusted for your needs." One of the floating jellyfish creatures made a sound like wind through a tunnel. The translation device rendered it as laughter. "Heavy worlders," it said. "Must be difficult evolving on such a harsh planet." Hana bit her tongue. She had been warned about this. Many species in the galaxy came from low-gravity worlds. To them, Earth was extreme. Humans were considered over-muscled freaks who needed too much force just to stand up. They walked through the station's main corridor. It was beautiful. The walls glowed with soft light, and the ceiling was transparent, showing the stars above. Dozens of different species moved past them. Some walked, some floated, some slithered. A few stopped to stare at the humans. Most looked away quickly, whispering to each other. "How long have humans had faster-than-light travel?" Thricus asked as they walked. 42 years, Tay replied. "Ah, so young." Thricus's tone made it sound like an insult. Most species joined the council after at least 2 centuries of deep space exploration. "But I suppose Earth would..." "Eager." "We are ready," Tay said firmly. Thricus stopped at a large door. "These are your quarters. The gravity inside is set to 0.8 G. We could not manage full Earth gravity without damaging the station's infrastructure." "I hope you can adapt," Day stepped forward. 0.8 G is fine. We appreciate the accommodation. Tomorrow you will present your case to the council. Be prepared. They will have many questions about Earth's suitability for membership." Thricus turned and walked away, his long legs making him look like he was dancing in the low gravity. The jellyfish creatures followed, making more sounds that might have been laughter. Inside their quarters, the team finally relaxed. The gravity felt closer to normal, though still light. Hana sat down hard on a chair and was surprised when she bounced slightly. "They hate us," Nari said, pacing back and forth. "Did you hear them?" "Heavy worlders. Like it's a disease." "They do not hate us," Day said, setting up his equipment calmly. "They pity us. In their minds, we are unfortunate creatures born on a brutal world. They think Earth's gravity held us back." Tay poured himself water from a container. The water moved strangely in the low gravity, taking longer to fall. "They are not wrong to be cautious. Humans are different. We are stronger, denser, more intense than most species here. That frightens them. So what do? Hana asked. "We show them we are more than strong," Tay replied. "We show them we are smart, adaptable, and worthy of respect." Nari stopped pacing and looked at her commander. "And if they still say no?" Anna stood up, her muscles adjusting to the weird gravity. "Then we keep trying. Earth didn't send us here to give up after one bad day." That night, Hana could not sleep. The gravity was wrong, the air smelled strange, and the sounds of the station were unfamiliar. She got up and went to the window. Outside, she could see the planet Valorum Prime below. It was beautiful, covered in purple clouds and green oceans. She wondered what it would be like to walk on a world where everything weighed less than half what it should. Then she thought about Earth. About the feeling of real gravity pressing down on her, every second of every day. About how her bones grew thick and her muscles grew strong just from existing. About how every human child learned to walk by fighting against 9.8 meters per second squared of constant force. Maybe the aliens were right. Maybe Earth was harsh. Maybe humans were overbuilt for the universe they now explored. But Hana had a feeling that being overbuilt was not a weakness. She just needed to prove it. He'd seen Minho's strength firsthand, and it had only reinforced his determination. That boy is the plasma conduit failed on the 8th day of travel. It was a mechanical failure, nothing dramatic, just an aging component that finally gave out after years of service. Under normal circumstances, it would have been a minor inconvenience: isolate the conduit, reroute power, repair the damage. But the conduit ran directly through the cargo bay where the stasis pods were stored. The explosion was small, contained by automatic systems. But the plasma energy that escaped before containment was enough. It washed over a section of pods, disrupting their power supplies and triggering their emergency protocols. Emergency protocols that included automatic revival. Alarms screamed throughout the ship. Vren was in his quarters when it happened, and he ran for the cargo bay immediately. He arrived to find the engineering team already working to contain the plasma leak, but his attention was fixed on the stasis pods. Green status lights were turning amber. Inside the pods, bodies were beginning to move. How many pods were affected? Vren demanded. Preliminary count shows 207, an engineer reported, her voice shaking. The automatic revival sequence has already started. We can't stop it. Alert the captain. Get security teams to the cargo bay. And for the love of the ancestors, tell them not to shoot unless directly threatened. But he knew it was already too late to contain this peacefully. The first colonist to fully wake was a man in his 40s, with graying hair and a military bearing. His eyes opened, assessed the situation in seconds, and he moved with the precision of someone trained for crisis situations. He broke his pod's canopy, not violently but efficiently, and stepped out into chaos. More colonists were waking around him. Some were confused, frightened. Others were children, crying for parents who might not have woken yet. The man took charge immediately, his voice calm but commanding. Everyone stay calm. Check the people near you. Help anyone who needs it. Do not leave this area. We need to figure out what's happening. Vren recognized the voice from the logs, Dae-hyun, the former security chief who had written those final, desperate entries. The man who had tried to keep the colony safe as it spiraled toward its difficult decision. Dae-hyun spotted Vren and approached, moving with controlled grace that somehow seemed more dangerous than Minho's fearful fumbling. You're Velrathi, Dae-hyun said in perfect standard Galactic. You found the colony. You woke us. There was an accident. Vren started. Where are we? What ship is this? Where are the others? You're aboard the Velrathi vessel Morning Light. The other colonists are still in stasis. You're being transported to the Confederation capital for study. Dae-hyun's voice went flat. We're specimens. Behind him, more colonists were fully awake now. Vren counted quickly. At least 50 already conscious, more emerging from their pods every moment. Among them he saw a young woman with fierce eyes, a teenage boy who looked terrified, children clinging to adults they hoped were their parents. Yuna, Seojun, Jisoo, Yoonji. Names from the logs. People who had lived through the colony's final days and made the choice to sleep rather than doom the galaxy. Please, Vren said. We need to establish communication with my captain before... The cargo bay doors burst open and security teams flooded in, weapons raised and charged. Everyone freeze, shouted the security chief. That was the moment everything went wrong. A young colonist, maybe 13 years old, panicked at the sight of armed soldiers. She ran toward what she thought was cover, moving fast, far too fast for a child her age. A nervous security officer fired. The energy bolt hit her in the shoulder and she went down screaming. Dae-hyun moved. Vren barely saw it happen. One moment Dae-hyun was standing beside him. The next he was across the cargo bay, placing himself between the wounded child and the security team. He hadn't run. He'd simply moved faster than eyes could properly track. Don't shoot, Dae-hyun roared. She's a child. Stand down. But the security teams were terrified now. They'd seen how fast he moved. They fired again. Multiple officers opening up with their weapons. The energy bolts hit Daehyun's center mass. He staggered but didn't fall. His clothes smoked where the bolts had hit, but his skin beneath was merely reddened, not burned through. He looked down at himself in dismay. "We don't want to fight you," he said, his voice pained. "We're not your enemies." But the security chief saw only a threat that could shrug off multiple direct hits. He ordered his teams to concentrate fire. What happened next was chaos. The colonists didn't attack, not at first. They defended. They moved to protect the wounded child, to shield each other from weapons fire. But their defense was devastating. When a colonist grabbed a weapon to prevent it from firing, the weapon crumpled. When they pushed security officers away, those officers flew across the room. Yuna, the young woman with fierce eyes, ran toward the engineering section where a ruptured conduit was still venting plasma. She reached into the plasma stream with her bare hands and bent the metal piping to seal it. Her hands blistered and burned, but she held the pipe shut until the automatic systems engaged, then stepped back as her hands healed in front of everyone's eyes. Seojin caught a security officer who had been knocked into a bulkhead, cushioning the impact that would have broken the Velrathi's back. He set the officer down carefully and said, "Please stop shooting. We're trying to help." Jisoo, who couldn't have been more than 16, calculated a path through the chaos and guided frightened colonists to safety. She called out trajectories in danger zones, her voice calm and clear even as energy weapons discharged around her. Within minutes, the colonists controlled the cargo bay, not because they'd fought for it, but because the Velrathi couldn't stop them. Every security officer had been disarmed or disabled without serious injury. The colonists had moved with precision and care, using only as much force as necessary to end the threat. But the ship's crew saw only their own defeat. Saw beings that could move faster than they could react, that could survive their weapons, that could break their equipment without effort. They saw monsters. On the bridge, Captain Thalos watched through security cameras, his expression dark. "Seal the cargo bay," he ordered. "Lock it down completely, and send a distress signal to the Confederation fleet. Tell them we have a hostile force aboard and require immediate military support." "Sir, they're not hostile," Vren protested, standing beside the captain. "They defended themselves. They could have killed everyone in that bay, but they didn't. They've taken control of part of my ship. That makes them hostile." The signal is sent. Fleet assets are already responding. 3 warships will intercept us within 12 hours. In the cargo bay, Daehyun examined the sealed doors and understood what was happening. They were trapped, contained, and reinforcements were coming. He gathered the awakened colonists around him. There were 207 of them now, ranging from children to elderly, from 3rd generation to 8th generation. Some were powerful enough to tear through the ship's hull with their hands. Others were only moderately enhanced, scared and confused about everything that had happened. "We need a plan," said Eunji, a woman in her 30s who Vren recognized from the logs as someone who had accidentally destroyed part of her house once. "They're bringing more ships, more weapons. We can break out," suggested a young man. "These doors won't hold us, and go where?" Daehyun asked. "We're on a ship in deep space. Even if we take control of the entire vessel, what then? We don't know how to operate it. We don't know where we are, and we'd have to hurt people to do it. So we just sit here and wait for them to attack us again?" Yuna's hands were still healing from the plasma burns, skin regenerating in real time. "We negotiate," Daehyun said firmly. "We open communication with their captain. We explain the situation. We offer a peaceful solution." He approached the nearest communication panel and activated it. "Captain of the Morning Light, this is Daehyun of New Jeju Colony. We are not your enemies. We don't want to fight. We're asking you to take us back to our planet and let us return to stasis. This doesn't have to end badly." Thalos's voice came back cold and clipped. "You've seized control of part of my ship and injured my crew. You will surrender immediately or face military action. Your crew fired first. We defended ourselves. The only injuries are to the child your officer shot and to us from your weapons. We've harmed no one. Surrender or be destroyed." The communication cut off. Daehyun stood silent for a long moment, then turned to the other colonists. "They're not going to listen," he said quietly. "They're too afraid of us. They see weapons, not people." "Then we fight," Yuna said. "We take the ship." "No." The voice came from the back of the group. Everyone turned to see who had spoken. An elderly woman was emerging from one of the damaged pods. She moved slowly, weakly, clearly in distress. Colonists rushed to support her, but she waved them off with trembling hands. Hee-jin, Daehyun stared in shock. Your pod was damaged. You shouldn't have woken. The revival wasn't complete. You're dying. Hee-jin finished, her voice barely above a whisper. I know, I can feel it. The stasis damage is too severe. But I'm awake long enough to stop you from making a terrible mistake. She looked around at all the frightened faces, all the powerful people who didn't want to use their power. I need to speak to everyone, she said. All ship,